Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's really good to be here back at the Congress. And it's kind of sad that we're not, together as we have been at City Hall, but this certainly is the next best thing, and it's really good to be here. Today, our topic is, or the subject is, dismantling the school to prison pipeline through the arts. And here we've had this horrendous pandemic. We've had 4 years of, domestic terrorism going on. And here we are now, talking about all of the things that are really important to us, the housing, food challenges, homelessness, and children kind of are, not quite in that mix. And our focus today, working through the arts, would be to talk about the importance of the arts and how they shape minds and transform lives. But I also wanted to just say a little bit about music and the arts. It seems that the first musical instrument was made probably about 40,000 years ago. And at the same time, in another part of the world, this was in I believe, Indonesia, cave dwellers were drawing on the walls. And because of that, and because of hieroglyphics and all of that, we have an idea of who these people were and what they did and how they did it. And at the same time, we know that when these ancient societies went to war, they had drummers and they had horn players. And what's interesting about that is that moving into the Greeks and the Phoenicians and Romans, they actually used dance and music to train their troops. And the drums were actually used to send signals. So thousands of years, they recognized the importance of the arts. They may not have termed it that way, the arts, but it was through that now in modern times, we have military bands, military marching bands, and that started thousands of years ago. So here we are now with our children who are struggling and have this past, year and a half, many of them, a great many of them, more so, have been left behind because so much has been lacking. And we have schools that no longer have music and art and sports programs. And these are the elements that actually shape children. It certainly helped to shape me. And, it's one of those things where all of my life, music and art has been a cornerstone, really, because it has helped me navigate through everything that I've ever had to do. And today, the folks that you're going to meet, I know you can probably hear that horn, and I'm really sorry about it. But the folks that you're going to meet, Dr. Amir Whitaker, Dr. Margaret Martin, and Mario Nigara, are 3 individuals who have dedicated their life and their work to bolstering, nurturing, and giving children an opportunity to make a difference and to create their own lives. And so you will hear stories from them that are absolutely wonderful. And I would like to introduce you, our first speaker, Dr. Amir Whitaker. I'm going to elongate his introduction because I want you to really hear about his background, because it's very important to what he's going to be discussing. Amir is an educator, author, civil rights lawyer, and a musician. He's the founder and director of Project Knucklehead, a nonprofit organization empowering youth through music, art, and educational programs since 2012. He is often referred to as Dr. Knucklehead, and he was introduced to the criminal justice system as a child when he visited both of his parents, mother and father, in prison. At age 15, Amir himself was arrested and entered the juvenile justice system. Problems at school eventually led him to being expelled. Despite these hardships, Amir went on to complete 5 college degrees. As a lawyer, referred to as a civil rights and education stalwart by the Daytona Times, Amir has negotiated settlements and policy changes that have improved the lives of thousands of youth across the country. Amir is currently a policy attorney with the ACLU of Southern California and researcher with the UCLA Civil Rights Project. At the Southern Poverty Law Center, Amir worked on a class action lawsuit on behalf of incarcerated youth receiving inadequate education, mental health, and rehabilitation services. Within the juvenile division of the Miami-Dade County Public Defender's Office, Amir represented incarcerated youth and developed training materials. He has taught varying grade levels and in different educational settings for over a decade, and has held teaching certifications in Florida, California, and New Jersey. He has delivered keynote speeches to thousands and written for leading publications across the country, including the Washington Post and Time magazine. Amir's recently released autobiography has been featured on ABC News and in The New Yorker. He received his doctorate in educational psychology from the University of Southern California, Juris Doctorate from the University of Miami, and his bachelor's from Rutgers University. Amir, take it away.
Thank you, Queen Dorsey. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be with you all and share space. I'm honored to be here. I'm actually live. You'll hear from some of our students later. I'm with our Youth Liberty Squad with the ACLU. We have a group of young people we meet with on Saturdays, and I literally just finished doing some art with them, and we'll bring them back for some art later. So I'm honored to be here to share space with you all and share more about what we do. I apologize because there is some construction happening on the street, but I try to move as far away from it as I can. I'm gonna do a quick screen share and go through some of the presentation. But also just, feel free to drop questions in the chat or anything. But, today I'm going to talk about how art is the antidote for the school to prison pipeline. For those of you who don't know, the school to prison pipeline is a set of factors, policies, practices that happen in our schools that lead to pushing young people out of the educational system and into the criminal justice system. So, in the United States, we have the largest justice system in the world, especially when it comes to young people. And a lot of them enter through schools like this very campus I'm on, that actually is a great example of what not to do. So as a civil rights lawyer, I've represented youth. I've represented students who had been suspended for humming or singing in class, for dancing. One student in California was arrested for doing a flip on the campus, basically expressing themselves or sharing their creative energy. And in the school to prison pipeline, that's when it's criminalized instead of nurtured. So going through this presentation, which I can make available later. Thank you, Queen Dorsey, for going through some of my different roles in that extensive bio. But I wear different hats, but all of them relate to freedom and art and expression. As the founder and director of Project Knucklehead here, and I have a picture from our youth in Miami. When we first started, I have a formula there. It says creative energy plus no creative outlet equals trouble. So all of the youth you see smiling in the picture, are formerly incarcerated, including myself, actually, even though I'm not a young person. But I remember the staff from one of the programs, not our program, but from another program saying, looking at the picture, you wouldn't know everyone was, a former criminal or something like that. And I challenged that notion and said, well, what's a person who's been convicted of a crime or supposed to be like? Are they not able to smile? Are they not able to play guitar or saxophone or express themselves? So we have this notion that people who commit crimes against society or end up in the justice system are just deserve a separate treatment and have a separate level of values and different things when we're all just human. And especially with our young people, we have a duty to nurture their creative energy, because if not, they will find another outlet for it, which is often trouble. Here I have a picture from our young people when we ask, what does art mean to you? What is art for you? And these are the words that came about. And you see words like soul, freedom, joy, life, opportunity, visionary, revolution. So when we talk about arts and students having access to arts, young people having access to art, we're talking about them having access to their soul, to freedom, right? To empowerment, to revolution. So it's much more than art. Now, talking about the criminalization of it in the school to prison pipeline, this chart right here shows Los Angeles Unified School District, actually. So it shows starting back in 2008, when the first that recession hit about then. The green represents the art funding, which you can see at almost 80 million in LAUSD. And then the blue represents the funding on school police, which at that point was about 50 million. The recession hits, you start to see dips in funding for both of them, but you can see the funding for police climbed a lot more. And by 2017, there was a reversing of it, whereas previously the arts was funded more than police by millions of dollars in LAUSD. By 2017, school police were receiving upwards of almost $70 million, whereas art was cut to about $31 million. So a 60% decrease in art funding, while school police funding increased by 24%. So, and that's what we mean by a school creating, or a school district creating an environment of criminalization instead of culture. And that created an environment where there are more police than dance teachers and theater teachers combined in LAUSD schools. Another policy of the school to prison pipeline, just here locally, because I want to bring it to LA, but there's a policy that luckily this school year is the first school year they're no longer implementing this policy. But there was a policy called random searches where campuses like the Los Angeles campus I'm on right now, all middle school and high schools were required to do random searches that criminalize students and randomly, quote unquote, randomly search them for weapons. But what they actually confiscated in these searches were frequently art supplies, so you can see there, I'm sorry for that. There we go. These quote unquote contraband items, a lot of them were Sharpies, highlighters, glue, magic markers, and balloons and different things like that related to them expressing themselves. Here we have evidence that some of the items they were confiscating were actually cultural items. Like you see, I have it underlined there, a hair pick was actually confiscated. A student went to school, probably with hair similar to mine that, requires an afro pick every now and again. And instead of it being a way for them to express themselves, it was viewed as a weapon. So that was a policy, and that's an example of what the school to prison pipeline looks like here in Los Angeles. And there we are actually with some of our young people from our Youth Liberty Squad. And I brought that pic to the school board meeting as evidence of what was happening. But luckily, our young people at Fort worked with an organization called Students Deserve and other coalitions to end that. And I have a banner there, that art that we created in the process of it that we march with. To do it. So that's an example of how, we use art when fighting the school to prison pipeline. The last thing I want to share before passing it to other attendees is the story of a young person. Her name is Alicia Boone, and she's actually right there dead in center of this mural that's actually on 8th Street in Los Angeles near downtown LA. That's our ACLU office. That's where I'm an attorney with and where I'm working with today with our young people. So you can see on the mural, it says we need housing, education, healthcare, living wages, mental health support, community, public transport, good food, arts and culture. Shout out to LA having that Department of Arts and Culture, green spaces, and then more police is crossed out. Because the student there that you see there in the middle, her name is Alicia Boone. She was a senior in high school last year at Fauché High School. And Alicia had always dreamed of being a cartoonist, an illustrator, or doing something with the arts. But at her high school, she didn't have access to a visual arts course. So in the state of California, the law requires, as you can see here, the education code of California requires visual and performing arts to be included in school curriculums, grades 1 through 6, but also 7 through 12. And we shared that knowledge with Alicia, who then organized students. She organized a petition at her school level, got over 100 signatures, and then brought arts to her school through that. And my apologies here. Yeah, so this is her story and some of her art where she shared that story, how she felt, you know, she says, all my life, I believed that the administration at my school had the highest say-so and decided what was right for me, and I had no opinion otherwise. But she talks about how she took her student power to challenge that notion and get her right to art, because she was greeted by 2 police cars every school day in the front of her school. But when she entered the building, she didn't have an arts teacher. So that's what we mean by school to prison pipeline. And Alicia is one of the students changing that. And there's a picture of Alicia and some of her art there, because we published a student journal called The Road to Find, where Alicia was the first judge, and our first edition was called Black Arts Matter, Black Lives Matter. So to talk just a little bit more about the right to art, because art and expression, right? Art is a form of free speech and self-expression. So when we limit art, we are limiting free speech. When communities and youth don't have access to art, you can view it as a form of cultural genocide or a lack of access to culture, their own culture. So they have that right. And then lastly, you know, the unequal art gaps, like Alicia, you know, a student in South LA who has unequal art access to her schools, those contribute to the unequal achievement gaps, you see, because we know art increases achievement, increases attendance, college participation, and other things. So art issues and art gaps are part of the separate and unequal system that we see sometimes. So that's why it's important for community organizations to do and provide art as well. So, and that's what I do through Project Knucklehead, which is the nonprofit I started back in 2012. And we started working in juvenile justice systems, specifically for those youth, because they're the least likely to have access to art, even though they're the most likely to get in trouble. And as was mentioned earlier, I myself got into a lot of creative trouble until I found an outlet for myself through the arts and through music. So what we do through Project Knucklehead now is we actually empower the youth to teach art. Our youth actually, and I'll show some video later, but our youth as young as 18 are actually teaching art at protests, whether it's teaching dance, teaching drumming, and other things. So they're teaching art as a form of freedom on the way to freedom, right? So as they're doing freedom fighting, they're centering the arts and centering the drums, because that's something cultures have always done. All cultures, all indigenous cultures all around the world know the special relationship and healing power of arts, specifically drumming. And that's what our youth have been doing through Project Knucklehead. So that concludes my first part of my presentation. I want to pass it to others to keep the conversation going. But again, I'm honored to be a part of this today, and I really look forward to bringing back our young people towards the end of this session to share some of their voices as well, because we want to ask them specifically, you know, what can be done to support art in their schools and communities. Some of our young people call schools creative dead zones. And we shouldn't have that kind of language going around where they feel like they're entering campuses that are like funeral homes, where you don't hear music and the walls are bland, but these should be creative and inspiring places to be, that inspire them to be the best of themselves. Kind of like what you see here, right, in this mural. This is a mural here at Alliance Collins High School. We're here in East LA, just an example of how schools should include the arts all throughout campus. Thank you all.
Thank you, Amir, and we look forward to seeing you again and to meeting some of the students. This is such a conversation. I mean, I remember for myself as a kid, being a latchkey kid. And I didn't get into trouble because I did have the arts as part of my life, but to see this work and to actually have an opportunity, as Amir is showing us, what it's like for kids. We don't often have that opportunity to hear it directly from them. Our next speaker is Dr. Margaret Martin. Dr. Margaret Martin is a doctor of public health. And she has worked for years to provide arts education to thousands of underserved children through the Harmony Project by enabling them to receive instruments and participate in tuition-free music lessons. Dr. Martin collaborates in neuroscience research into how music training affects the brains of students receiving the training. She also serves as a member of the board of directors of Los Angeles City College Foundation. She's a member of the advisory board for the Antidote Foundation and a member of the advisory board of Knowles Hearing Center. And she was awarded the prestigious Presidential Citizens Medal by President Barack Obama in 2011. Margaret, please, welcome.
Thank you, Dorsey. So let me tell you about Harmony Project. As a doctor of public health, I'm concerned with building healthier communities and making communities into places where every child has the ability to grow up and be a healthy person. We talk about opioid epidemics. We talk about homelessness. We talk about alcoholism. We talk about unemployment and underemployment, but we almost never talk about the children whose significant adults are experiencing those things. Those kids need something to hold on to. They need something to inspire them and to engage them, and a means of coming together to build their social and emotional well-being, particularly after a year and a half of social isolation due to COVID. We really need opportunities for kids, and Harmony Project is just that. I started in 2001 with this nonprofit that I founded that provides musical instruments and 4 to 10 hours a week of tuition-free music lessons and ensemble rehearsals year-round for kids throughout childhood. So all you have to do is show up, maintain good attendance, practice, make some progress, and the program continues for you. The program grew from about 36 kids in 2001 to more than 3,500 today. You can go to harmony-project.org. That's harmony-project.org and sign up to get on the wait list for music lessons involving a variety of instruments, including voice. So what happened with that? We saw not only did the program explode with waiting lists that could be as long as 2 years and hundreds of kids on waiting lists, but we saw our students stick with the program for an average of 7.5 years by the time they graduate high school. We have seen our kids not only learning to play and perform music with one another, but start to take a crazy amount of honors and advanced placement classes and attend fine colleges and universities throughout the country. Harvard, Stanford, UCLA, Tulane, Dartmouth. we've had 2 Fulbright scholars, a Gates scholar. And basically what we've learned is that any kids can thrive if you give them the opportunity to develop their creative potential. Most of our kids enter the program shy. They have difficulty expressing themselves, but they grow out of that difficulty through practicing to make music with one another, make increasingly challenging music with one another over multiple years. In fact, in 2016, 40 of our string students performed on stage for the Super Bowl 50 halftime show with Beyonce, Bruno Mars, and Coldplay. Now that was amazing, but what was really most amazing was the thing one of those students said to us when she was going through her exit interview as she was graduating from high school. And this young woman said, when I entered that stadium and saw all those people, I knew there was nothing I couldn't do. So that's really the point. Learning to make music well takes lots and lots and lots of practice. We've now learned that that practice improves brain function and makes learning everything else easier. But one of the most important things that happens with our kids is they discover the truth about their own creative potential. Our kids talk about the tyranny of low expectations. Living in lower income communities, they tell us that nobody expects anything amazing from them. And none of them expect to really be able to learn to play music when they enter the program. But as they learn to play, and as they learn to play increasingly challenging music with one another, they start to think, what else can I do? What else can I accomplish? And that's really the whole thing. So every one of our kids deserves a chance to learn to make music, not some kind of 6-week, 10-week program where it's not long enough, it's not intensive enough, there's not sufficient engagement possible to learn really well. So the thing about Harmony Project is we hire professional performing musicians who teach the kids to actually do the thing that they do. And that's what's really exciting. Also on this program is a dear, dear colleague of mine, Mario Nugara, who founded a program similar to Harmony Project, but about 9 years before I started Harmony Project, he started City of Angels Ballet. And he provides phenomenal tuition-free ballet and dance instruction to kids largely from low-income homes. He doesn't kick anybody out, but he is a phenomenal dancer and a phenomenal resource for Los Angeles. And it's my sincere pleasure to pass the baton to Mario. Mario, tell us about what you do.
Take my mic off. First, I'm going to show a very short video from Channel 7 News.
Another group of children also becoming enriched through the arts, where a dance teacher is changing lives through ballet at his Silver Lake studio, a school that not only offers free classical ballet training, but also provides life lessons along the way. 4 years ago, Emmanuel Reyes wanted to be more athletic for his PE class, so he started training with the City of Angels Ballet. Now it's become about something else for this sixth grader.
In the past year, we went to the music center and we danced with professional dancers, and I liked it, so I want to keep on going.
So 3 times a week, Emmanuel's mom walks the kids several blocks to the Silver Lake studio. Then as he practices dance, she works on her knitting. She is one of many parents that make the journey.
We have some families that take buses, and they come for over an hour on the bus.
There wouldn't be a ballet class to get to if it hadn't been for Mario Nugara, who founded City of Angels Ballet 17 years ago. This program offers free classical ballet training to children ages 7 to 18 from some of the city's toughest neighborhoods.
I recognized that Los Angeles didn't have a ballet academy for children that were coming from underserved communities where they would have a scholarship program and they would go in and just get professional ballet training and give them an opportunity to become a professional ballet dancer.
Mario, a professional ballet dancer himself, trained at Balanchine School of American Ballet and has danced for many prestigious companies throughout the country. Now, his expertise is reaching thousands of kids, the majority of whom are Latino.
Worked with roughly 20,000 children in the LAUSD over the past 16 years.
Currently, there are about 100 young dancers taking classes. This is more than an after-school program where they learn how to plie or pas de deux. They also learn about discipline and self-respect.
The environment, you'll see, it's very nurturing. There are rules for everybody to follow, you know, no gum, no nail polish, no jewelry, and the children all respond. I mean, you know, and the schools tell me that they can pick out the children that are in my ballet program because of the way they interact with each other, the respect they show to each other, to their teachers, their focus in class, and even in their homework. One of the parents said to me once, what I like you, she said, is you don't mess around and you teach them and they all respect you. And there was a group of parents sitting there and I said, well, you know why they respect me? And they all kind of looked puzzled and said, no. And I said, because I respect them.
Ah, where's my Zoom?
I guarantee if you invite your friends over for fish and grits and you have some crab in your gravy, they'll be talking about that for a little while.
Sorry, I lost everyone.
You're trying to unshare it right now?
Yeah, I know, but I couldn't get it. It went.
You pressed unshare, huh?
No, not yet. I'm trying to get that.
Get to the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, it didn't go there. It
Hover at the bottom.
Let's see. Let me try something here.
You did it. Thank you. So anyway, thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Dorsey. Thank you, Tom. Amir, nice to meet you. I'm going to be looking over my side because I have some notes and I want to make sure I don't forget anything. Margaret said something really important, and that is it's not a 6-week taste of something that makes the difference for young people. It's having the ability to get involved in an activity that keeps them focused and gives them some opportunities. So I started City of Angels Ballet. I started working on it in 1990. And then I was awarded a Fulbright scholarship to the Royal Danish Ballet in the University of Copenhagen. So I went to Denmark and I was there for 91 and 92. And when I got back, I started the City of Angels Ballet. So we're a nonprofit fine arts organization. I launched the program of no-cost ballet training with a small group of elementary school students in the Pico Union District of Los Angeles. The program currently serves a diverse ethnic mix of 7 to 18-year-old boys and girls drawn from surrounding communities where children are at risk in a life of poverty and rejection. Despite having parents who both work, 100% of our dancers could not participate without the support we receive from foundations, corporations, and individuals. At the core of the program is a flourishing multicultural dance program, well established and recognized for its artistic and community achievements. Some of the theaters where the children have performed are the Music Center of Los Angeles, the Japan America Theater, the Universal Amphitheater, Orange County Performing Arts Center, LA County Museum of Art, the Fox Theater in Riverside, East LA City College, and the Children's Hospital of LA. there's so many things to touch on in terms of just like the cost of ballet training or music training. For a child to start in ballet training, the lowest costs are around $2,000. Point shoes run $85 a pair, and they wear out within a couple weeks. For a performance, they wear them once and they're shot. So we provide the point shoes for the children, and these children have been with us for a number of years, 4 to 5 years, before they can get on to point. So for all of our children, the cost is out of their reach. The parents could not afford to do this. We provide them with leotards and tights, which is another expense, but there's many other things that wanted to touch on, and that is, there are statistics in LAUSD that one of my board members pulled up, and these were from a number of years ago. They have a 30% dropout rate in LAUSD, 85 live births per 1,000 students, 39% obesity, and 49% aerobic fitness failure. Using these statistics with the City of Angels Ballet, with a count of 4,000 children, we would have 1,200 students would have dropped out of high school, and we have zero dropout. We've had zero dropout of high school. Out of 319 young girls would have had children, babies, based on this number. We've had 0 teen pregnancies. 1,600 of our students would be clinically obese. We have 0 clinically obese in City of Angels Ballet, and 2,000 would have failed a basic aerobic fitness test, and we have 0% fail a basic fitness test. As Margaret said, this changes lives. The number, just like with Harmony Project, the number of our students that have gone on to college is quite a few, and our list is also impressive. We have students have gone on to UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, Cal State LA, Cal State Long Beach, Cal State Northridge, UC San Diego, LA City College, Pasadena City College, UC Berkeley, Santa Barbara, New York University, Wesleyan College, UC Riverside, Bennington, Stanford, Yale, Columbia, and Princeton. Our dancers are all the first in their families to attend college, and a few have gone on to have professional careers in dance. And with that, I will turn it back to Dorsey.
Oh, Amara, that was wonderful. I remember ballet class for me when the ballet master told me that I would never be a ballerina because I was going to be too tall. I was completely shattered. I didn't have the support system. And I'm one of those people with all of you. I've had numerous musical instruments, voice lessons, singing lessons, dance lessons. I don't do any of it. However, the background that I received and the exposure and being a part of the ballet class or even part of an orchestra when I was in elementary school, all gave me the tools that I needed to navigate through my life. And hearing the stories of the students that you've had who have gone on to college, it's just fantastic. So Amir, are you ready with another part of the program?
I'll be ready in a moment. The students are wrapping up another discussion, but I want to share something about that, what you just said, and what we actually just seen and experienced. Maybe I'll ask the students to share as well, but we were just drumming, and not everyone's going to become a drummer. Probably, maybe none of them will become a drummer, right? But we did an activity where all students, and it was 15 of us, everyone got an opportunity to take a solo, right? Everyone got their chance to shine, and where all attention was on them, and it was just up to them to express themselves. At least 2 or 3 students got a little caught up and were nervous, didn't know what to do, and felt uncomfortable, felt like they weren't good enough. It was their first time drumming, and like they literally froze. That reminded me of one of the greatest things I'm grateful for with the arts, is that ability. I literally wouldn't be talking confident to you all today, right, if I wasn't first on that stage, as a musician and other places, basically given that spotlight or the opportunity to speak or having to get up and perform in front of people, because that's something most people aren't naturally comfortable with, especially our young people. So the arts are really something that allows them to practice that and get comfortable before they go into any boardroom, to any courtroom, into any place. That first stage, whether it's the recital when they were 5 years old, those moments are really critical in developing, because there's so many skills that the arts provide, aside from the skill that you're developing, and we know here in Los Angeles, 1 out of every 6 jobs is in the creative economy, right? So 1 out of every 6 jobs uses creativity in some way. And, if our students don't have arts access, then they're at a disadvantage for the creative economy in other places. So I just wanted to add that there as well.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Amir is absolutely right. Amir is absolutely right. The kids need an opportunity to develop their skills. How do kids learn to collaborate with each other? How do they learn to communicate? They don't learn to express themselves by being told to be quiet in a classroom. They learn to express themselves by practicing expressing themselves. Duh. And if they can be given the opportunity to interact with professionals who can teach them to elevate their skills incrementally over time, they learn how much work it takes. They learn commitment. They learn discipline and persistence. They learn how to listen to one another. And they learn how much work it takes to create something really fabulous, really beautiful for their community with other people. These are skills that members of Congress today demonstrate that they do not have. I also wanted to say that Amir talks about the creative economy. Heck, 20 years ago, there wasn't any Google. We have no idea what kinds of jobs we're going to be having, or what our world's going to even look like. So one of the most important skills that we can give our kids, one of the most important skills our kids can develop, is just the capacity to believe in themselves and the confidence to create something, because they're going to have to be creating jobs that probably don't even exist today.
That's certainly true. Absolutely. And they are our greatest resource. And the problem is Congress and the governing bodies just don't seem to get that. And what does it cost to house or to incarcerate someone? The cost between paying for someone that's incarcerated and paying for a child's education. What is the difference? What do you pay for one and the other? I think the kids are not getting their fair share.
It's about some years ago, it was about $10,000 to arraign one juvenile, and about $30,000 a year to incarcerate that juvenile. That the $40,000 would provide music lessons through Harmony Project to between 20 and 30 students for an entire year. That's just crazy. Yeah. But there's something else. Excuse me. There's something else that's pretty critical. We need our kids to be able to get a complete education, and for the last 40 years, as long as we've been collecting data, fewer than 40% of graduating seniors in the entire US can read proficiently. It turns out that the brain functions kids learn used to develop language are developed, kind of explode in a really positive way over time if they study music. Their brains don't change in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 months. It takes at least 2 years of regular practice of music. But we now have the data that shows that engaging in music training improves kids' ability to process language and to read. And I would say that in ballet, kids are also engaging in musical activity in a very focused and rigorous manner. This is not casual. It doesn't happen with casual now and then. It takes a lot of practice, but that's what our kids need, and it also gives them the chance to come together in a dance ensemble or in a performance ensembles and harmony project. And I'm sure that Amir's program has ensembles that bring the kids together as well.
Absolutely. It's a form of teamwork, right? And it's a form of cooperation, and those skills, like we said, our politicians oftentimes forget. But music, I'm not surprised it enhances language skills and English skills so much, because music itself is a language. Not only that, but it's our first language. If you think about it, your babies, your small children and family members, they're singing long before they can talk, right? Even dancing, we're dancing before we can walk. We're naturally moving. We're all human beings. We're living instruments because our heart is beating to a rhythm, right? So even when you go to school, like I'm in a classroom right now, and they have the ABCs and different things up. They have the ABCs up right there. Well, people learn the ABCs, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's a song, that's music. But what happens is we forget about that as as we grow on, we kind of kill the creativity of our youth, or we don't provide them with enough space to develop and nourish that. So I'm going to go outside now and convene with our youth, but it's just going to take me a good 2 minutes to get with them. But I'll pass it back to the panelists as I do this.
What we need to do is pressure our politicians to increase arts funding across the board, and especially within our inner cities and schools. They should have arts funding, and they just lack the desire and the will, and that's what we need. And I mean, Amir, Margaret, and myself, we're proving that it makes a difference in the young people's lives. I have so many of them since social media started reaching out to me, thanking me for doing this when they were children. And they told me, they said, I've been able to do so many things because of the ballet. It's what enabled me to go to college. It's what enabled me to work in career. I have one young woman that worked with me, and she was an intern in Washington, D.C.
Exactly. The arts develop kids' capacity to have confidence and to believe in themselves and to perform at a high level and to set really high standards for themselves. Long Beach Unified School District in 2015 adopted Harmony Project. Actually, the city of Long Beach adopted Harmony Project as part of the city's violence prevention plan. And the Long Beach Unified School District launched Harmony Project as a school-sponsored program after school at its 4 highest poverty schools in 2015. There were, we started with second graders there, and there were administrators who couldn't believe that these kids were going to be interested in learning to play violin, viola, and cello. But they tagged the kids in their data management system so that they could see what was happening with them. And when they saw their own numbers, when they saw the improvements in academic performance, when they saw the complete absence of any behavior problems in the kids that were engaging in harmony, they added 5 more schools at the school's expense. So Mario, schools have funds. They're just spending them on things that aren't moving the dial for the kids. And if you just look at the data, if you look at who's succeeding, if you put in a high quality arts program, it's going to be the the arts kids that are succeeding. I'm not talking about 40 minutes once a week.
Right.
I'm talking about programs that set really high standards for kids and that engage them over multiple years.
Absolutely.
Amir, are you ready?
I am just about ready. So our youth are about to make their way over here in a second. They're wrapping up a conversation about critical race theory, which relates to art, because in art, you know, that's an opportunity to talk about culture and race, right? When you talk about different groups. So here, actually, we have some sticks and we have some of the drums, but I want to thank Queen Dorsey for these sticks, because Make Music LA, her nonprofit, donated over 50 pairs of drumsticks that we've been using all throughout, you know, throughout, whether it's our protest drum circles or we're just working with young people. But we've been using these sticks and we've given a lot of them out, so we actually have to, you know, get more now. So thank you for that. A lot of the youth we work with, they've shared that it's actually their first time drumming, or a lot of the youth said it's the first time they've been able to do any music or creative thing in person, you know, throughout the whole pandemic. So thank you for allowing us to do that. But I'll showcase some of our drums as well, because we do visual art when we do rhythmic arts as well. So you see all of them are painted and have different messages of protest. This one you see here, it says Black Lives Matter. It has the Project Knucklehead logo in the middle. This one says Arts Justice, Arts Not Arrest. Well, and here we have another one. So we take the tradition of hip hop bucket drumming, which you can take a $5 bucket drum from Home Depot, right? And a $5 pair of drumsticks, $10 pair of drumsticks, and then you have a musical instrument. And we've given away over 50 of these, like just as sets throughout the past few years. In Project Knucklehead, we've been doing this drum and bucket drumming from the very beginning, since we started, you know, over 8 years ago. So I just really encourage you all, if money is an issue and you can provide instruments, get some buckets. You know, that'll actually do it. So I'm gonna grab the youth right now, and I'll be back in one moment. Sorry.
What I found to be really quite wonderful about when kids have an opportunity to experience the arts and they work together, the word work really kind of goes out the window, and it becomes passion and it's love. And so the work that they're actually putting into it, they don't think about it as being work. Once they really understand and see what they've accomplished by being able to be dedicated and to practice, because practice does get you to Carnegie Hall, but it's something that they can see right away. You don't have to wait long. The progress that they're making over the years, they know where they began and they see where they are, and through the performances and through their physical ability, and of course then again their ability to play. It's an extraordinary experience, and I think that in some cases it's even more important for their families to recognize how important art is to them, because I've seen it so many times where you'll see a kid when they're either watching a performance or listening to music, and a light bulb goes off where the kid gets it and recognizes, oh, I like this, or I want to do this. I've seen little kids, I saw one little boy I'll tell you about, who I think he must have been about 8 years old, and he had like a little cape on, and the music started playing and he started dancing. And he was doing leaps and he was turning and he was having a great time. And of course, someone in his family told him, oh, sit down, you don't want to do that, you don't want to do that. And my heart was breaking, because I realized this child knows he wants to dance. And I hope that somehow he was able to break through the negativity of his family, and that he was able to continue on with his dancing, because you could see that he just loved it. He just radiated. And I'm sure, Mario, you see that too. You see that happening when children
Yeah, we've taken once, my mother and father were here from the East Coast, and we took 50 children to see the National Ballet of Cuba. And after the performance, we were out in the street, and the boys and the girls, everybody was trying to get on their toes in their tennis shoes. Everybody was trying to do it. They were holding on to each other, trying to get up on. And I kept saying, no, you need special shoes for that. You need special shoes. And it's interesting because then the boys were just as curious, and they said, how do they do that? And they kept asking me, how do they do that? And I said, well, we'll talk about it in class. But they loved it. I mean, they absolutely loved it. And my parents did too. They loved taking the children.
Well, you know, I think that's the interesting thing, what you were talking about with boys. When they're children, whatever it is that they love it.
Oh.
They're not thinking about, oh, well, what's someone going to think if I do this?
Right.
There's none of that.
Go ahead.
There's something that I'd like to share about Harmony Project, and that is, we don't really think of it as a music program. We think of it as a mentoring program. We call it mentoring through music. And we have special recitals for students. As students advance, we train them to help mentor their less advanced peers.
We do that.
And so we have special recitals where the student mentors show up with their mentees, and they perform together the things that they have learned together. I remember one recital in particular. There were two Latino boys, one on violin, one on viola, and they played this beautiful duet. And then later in the same recital, the mentee from that duo shows up with his mentee, and they perform. So you see sort of kids learn to take care of each other. Kids learn to bring one another along. And that kind of compassion and care is really what our whole community, what our country is just crying out for now. And if the thing that I always feel is if the adults and members of Congress could watch our children, they could learn the lessons that they need to be demonstrating for all of us.
Yeah, we do similar. We actually have, as the children progress in their class, teenagers or tweens, they start staying and helping with the youngest children. So we have the whole mentoring program set up where they come in, and the newest classes that start, the older children come in and help them, and they help them with everything, and they know what to do. So they sit with them and they show them everything that we're doing first and help them, guide them along. And you're right, Margaret, they actually thrive on mentoring one another.
And they become amazing people. The point isn't to make professional musicians, although all of our students learn to play and all your students learn to dance. The point is to make amazing, developed people who have great lives. Yeah,
Humans and citizens.
Exactly. Compassionate, kind, responsible people.
You know, one of the first things I tell the children when they come in, I ask them if they know what their soul is. And they kind of shake their heads. They know it's something they can't see or touch. And then I tell them, that's what I need to see when you dance. And they all get it. They all get that's what they're doing. And then I stress that you cannot be embarrassed to dance. You have to let yourself show who you are.
That's just so beautiful, Mario. It's if you sit and watch one of Mario's classes, you just know that you're watching something that is so precious and that just needs to be. And I wish every child could have that opportunity.
Amir, are you ready to let the kids play? Because this is one of those opportunities, Margaret, which is really kind of lovely. Amir?
I don't know if you can hear.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Amir?
You're muted.
Yep, ready. Sorry, y'all. I'm coordinating and bringing two groups together now. So we actually here have the Youth Liberty Squad live. Youth Liberty Squad, raise our hands, raise our fists. really quick. This is our LA Youth Liberty Squad youth from over 20 schools throughout the whole squad. I think we have about 15 here from all over LA. And then here online, we have the LA Neighborhood Congress, the annual conference happening now, where we're on the session talking about art as the remedy to the school to prison pipeline. And I shared earlier we were doing some drumming, and that we'll do a little more drumming. We might do a little performance for you all.
Please.
But first, let's just ask some questions, or let's give the opportunity to ask questions. So do you all have any specific questions? I have some lined up as well that we want to ask the young people for their perspective on art and what they see in their school or what would help their community.
Yeah, you go ahead, Amir, you ask.
Cool. All right. So, and if you want to answer the question, just raise your hand, But the first question is like, what is self-expression for you? What is art and self-expression for you? What does it do to you or for you to have that ability to express yourself through art, whether it's through music, dance, fashion? What does it provide for you? All right, we have a student over here. Destiny?
Yeah, for me, if I were to draw my feelings, I feel like it helped other people to understand what I'm expressing myself like within that drawing. So it kind of helps me communicate with people about what's going on in my life or in, like, for example, in my advocacy, if I were to draw what I feel towards it, I feel like the depiction helps people understand what I am feeling about that issue.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thanks for sharing that, Destiny. So for her, communication, and I know for me personally, for me to understand what's going on in my head, sometimes I do reflective journaling, and I didn't know I had some of these thoughts until I did put the pen to paper and started writing. Do any of us do creative writing or poetry? Elizabeth, Liz?
I don't do poetry, but I also do journaling. Well, for me, it's like art is, or be able to express myself. It's mostly about self-identity and being able to express myself and like how I want to be perceived. Yeah, at least like style-wise.
Exactly. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, identity through the arts. I always say the arts, for me, the reason why we fight for the arts is students have a right to their soul and their identity. So I wouldn't know what my soul sounds like as a musician or looks like as a visual artist if I didn't explore it. And so many of us don't have that opportunity, right? So it's literally like you don't fully uncover who you are unless you try to express yourself. You have to go to these places where you're more vulnerable. I always think of, to bring a Los Angeles ancestor and artist into the space, Tupac Shakur. He wrote this song, Shed So Many Tears, where he's literally crying on the song, right? But you never saw Tupac cry in person because he had this shell. But through art, through music, he was able to do that. Anyone else want to share what art does for them? Cool. So another question I have before we go and do a little jam for them, but what role has art or media played for you throughout the pandemic, right? Whether that's like a certain Netflix show or a show has helped keep you sane. We were talking a lot about TikTok earlier. Destiny, you want to share something?
I joined a film program that I've been in like year round. It meets like every Saturday. It's been like my outlet. I just love being able to make films about it. Like I made films about the mental health of that COVID has had on just teens in general, and like suicide and just body image. I think definitely filmmaking and media has been my outlet for, especially during COVID.
Cool, thanks for that. Yeah, we did a survey with students, over 1,200 students, and we asked them what has been most helpful throughout the pandemic, and a lot of them shared, videos, art, social media. And social media is a form of art sometimes where you see different, inspiring things, right? So art definitely has a role there. Any more comments we want to share before we go jam? All right, Lindsay, hold on one second. All right.
I definitely feel as if through the pandemic, if I was having a really hard time in school, if I was feeling really stressed out, I always felt as if I could take some time out and I could draw something, then it would help me feel more relaxed and calm and then come back to the problem later. And I felt as if I had a better solution to it. Or if I felt like if I took some time to play the piano or just focus on something that helped me feel more creatively free, and more calm and peaceful than when I had to go back to doing my schoolwork or trying to study something. I felt as if I was more productive.
Cool. It's like recharging you, you know, recharging your battery, recharging your soul. Cool.
Dr. Whitaker, this is Thompson, the production assistant here. I want to ask the attendees, this is fantastic. Thank you for this opportunity. I was going to ask the attendees, if you do have a quick question for Dr. Whitaker from the students, if you could use the raise hand function right now, then I will call on you. Any questions for Dr. Whitaker and the students?
And the squad.
And the squad, right?
The squad, they're the stars of the show, right? They're why we do this. All right, Amanda wants to share something as well.
Okay.
Oh, you have to leave? Yeah, we're just asking. So we were drumming earlier, right? And how did that make you feel, drumming? How, you know, the process?
When I did like the drumming, I felt like really, I felt like this surge of creativity, and also I felt like really relaxed because I sometimes like creating beats or like different music since I've been exposed to music like most of my life.
Yeah, Amanda took a really nice solo where everyone had an opportunity to solo, but Amanda is just so much more free. She was hitting all parts of the table and everything. It was really, really awesome. Cool.
Amir, let's hear the kids.
Yes.
All right, you want to hear them?
Yeah.
All right, squad. Well, let's get up and go. You know, let's go rock out for them. They're asking to hear it. You know, Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. We're gonna rock out for y'all. You know, we're rock stars. We usually charge about $2 million per performance. You can choose if you want to switch an instrument. That's fine as well. But we're gonna do the boom boom bap. Yeah, thank you, Liam, for holding down that cowbell. Okay. You want to use that one?
Trying to make sure y'all can see.
All right.
The Wi-Fi reaches. The Wi-Fi reaches over here, right, Amir?
Yeah, that's a good location.
Okay.
You can play it with your hands, but it's easier with the sticks. All right. So once again, thank you, Queen Dorsey, for these sticks that we are about to liberate ourselves with. All right. Okay. All right. So we're gonna do the boom boom bap one. I'm gonna count it off. We're gonna do it. And then, remember what we did where different people took solos, right? Now this is the magical snippet. If I point at you, you're gonna take a solo. And know that you have the confidence to do it, all right? Basically, boom, boom, back. You know? All right? So 5, 6, 7, 8.
comment.
All right, y'all. This was our first workshop today, and we just did this for maybe a half hour earlier, and I want to thank the youth for being bold and confident and ready enough to perform their first day practicing. So let's make noise one more time, y'all. Cool. Thank you all. Any final questions for the youth? Because we wrap up here at 2 o'clock.
Thank you so much, Amir, and thank
Wow.
you to the students. It was just great.
This video, this online Zoom session is also over in 4 minutes. So I'd like to ask if anyone who has been participating have any questions for Mario or for me or for Amir.
Actually, Dr. Margaret, this goes until 2:20. So
Yeah.
So you have some more time.
I'm wrong.
Cool. So maybe we can give the youth, maybe just, let's go around with something we like to do when we end our circles in creative spaces. Just go around and share one word, about how you're feeling now, how you felt during the drumming, and that you'll take throughout your day with you, right? So I'll start. Amir, I'm feeling together. I feel like we connected. We were all on beat and on rhythm together, so I feel more connected with the youth. You don't have to share more than one word, but that was just an example of explaining. All right, and if you don't have a word, you can just say you pass as well. So start with Yair.
How am I feeling? I feel a sense of unity.
Unity. Thank you, Yair. Giselle?
Free or like free.
Free, yes.
Energized.
Energized. Thank you, Stephanie.
Fun.
Fun. Thank you, Destiny.
Comfort.
Comfort. Thank you, Aisha.
Tranquility.
Tranquility. Thank you.
Definitely lots of happiness. I feel really happy. I just want to smile.
Happiness, tranquility. I'm gonna keep these words forever.
I feel like release.
Release.
I feel really relaxed.
Relax.
I feel very creative.
Creative, yeah.
I feel pretty awake.
Awake. Woke. Yeah.
I feel like a musician.
Like a musician, yeah. All right.
Unity also.
Unity, beautiful.
I feel inspired.
Inspired. Idene is our main primary organizer who works with the youth.
Hi.
She's a musician as well.
No, kind of. I guess I feel really good. It was great listening to all the students just have fun. So I feel really happy right now.
Cool. All right, so thank you all for the opportunity to share that. I'm going to disconnect and say goodbye and wrap up here, but I'll be back to join you all in a second.
Okay, thank you so much, Amir, and thank you to all of the students for participating. This was really quite enjoyable to meet all of you and to hear you play and to hear some of your stories. Thank you so much. I'd also like to let you know too, Amir, that the students, if they'd like to become members of their local neighborhood council, they certainly can, and we would love to have them as a part of the neighborhood council system, where they have an opportunity to participate with us in days like this. Okay?
Yeah, one of our former Youth Liberty Squad members is in the neighborhood council, Zaid, in the Valley, so we'll definitely share that info with them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll see you in a little bit. Okay.
Cool. So thank you all.
Who are they? Who are they?
Oh, so that's the neighborhood council.
That was great.
It was. I thought it was really cool too how they were so articulate in speaking about how they were moved, with their own feelings. It was really nice to hear that.
It is, because we really don't often have a chance to do that. There's a project, it's Get Lit, where it's student poets. And the first time that I had an opportunity to listen to their poems, I was completely blown away. It was like, you talk about a light bulb moment in listening to the stories and listening to how they tell the stories. The poetry is extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary.
It's wonderful. Oh, I do want to add, I want to tell you guys something that we're doing with the pandemic. We, in the past, we would actually get ballet or dance movies and show them. We got them from different sources. I had a board member who was with the foreign press and helped us. Well, at the end of October, we are streaming, since everybody's home, the movie The Red Shoes. That it was recolorized. It was worked on in the 90s and it hasn't been out for a while. So we got permission. We're streaming it. We're showing it to people. We're charging $10 and we're working with a restaurant so people can order their food and come home and see the movie. And just so that you guys know, in the movie, the gentleman who dances and plays the shoemaker in The Red Shoes, Leonid Massine, I actually had him as a teacher.
That's fantastic, Mario.
Well, it's that lineage, Margaret, from handing down from generation to generation. And so I'm very excited about that. We've got it from October 29th until November 1st.
Oh, it's a marvelous film.
Yes.
Absolutely marvelous.
Best dance films.
Yes, yes. I mean, you can see it in my head now. Yes, absolutely. Beautiful film. So the stories that we hear from some of the students, I mean, what creativity really means to them and how unfortunate it is that they are attending schools that don't recognize how important it is that and what causes it. I don't know. It's almost as if the school system is working hand in hand with the criminal justice system, because why they don't recognize how valuable an arts education is, is beyond me.
And Dorsey, our educators are really hardworking people. They really are trying to do their level best for the kids with the resources that they have. But many school administrators have never seen well-functioning arts programs because they've been cut out for such a long time that a lot of times the administrators themselves don't know what a well-functioning arts program would look like.
Right.
So how do we change that?
Well, it's
education.
It's education and outreach, and we have to just do our best for the kids. But like I said, in the beginning, in the Long Beach Unified School District, the administrators were administrators that were pushing back. Well, these kids, blah blah blah, until they saw their own numbers, and when they saw, the transformation happened, they did a complete about face, and they found money that they had, that any school district has. They just invested it, Title I dollars, 21st Century Learning Center dollars. They invested it in a high quality music program after school hours. And schools can do that. And Long Beach remains a beacon, a place that other educators can visit. But I really know that educators do the very, very best that they can for their kids, for the most part, with the resources that they have, but they can use a lot more support. And a lot of administrators really don't know and have never had the opportunity to see the kind of amazing transformation that happens in kids who participate in a high quality arts program that sets really high standards, where kids can connect with one another to meet those standards.
Margaret, have you been able to reach, because I've tried with LAUSD, so far what I've experienced was it's been individual principals, but they're falling into what you speak about. These are people that have an understanding, okay, I know this is going to make a difference for the children, and this is going to make a difference for them. And so they will take it upon themselves and say to me, yes, I want City of Angels Ballet to come in. But have you done any like that with LAUSD on a bigger scale?
Well, we have partnered with the Beyond the Bell after school program at LAUSD, which is run by a phenomenal person, Beyond the Bell. And we've partnered with them for more than a decade. They support a Saturday program at Alexandria Elementary School.
Oh, I've been there. I've gone to Alexandria.
Yeah. And we had a phenomenal principal there. Principal Ponce is no longer there, but the program has been. And Alvaro Cortez runs or has run the Beyond the Bell program, and he's just amazing.
Oh, cool.
As a matter of fact, when his wife passed, he's so committed to arts education and music education in particular. In lieu of flowers, he requested contributions for music education.
He actually made banners that said "Make Music LA" and put it up alongside the freeway in support of Make Music LA. He really loved the idea, and they had actually had events on June 21st right outside of their headquarters downtown. So I know how committed he is to arts education. I had a conversation with the governor before he became governor to ask him about arts education and what to do. And his response to me was, it's got to be grassroots. It's got to come from the communities to want it and to push for it. And I thought, wow, okay, but if you guys know that we need to have this happen, but I guess he was telling me that, well, we can't do anything unless you do something.
It's odd. In 2007, there was a community needs assessment in the highest crime neighborhoods in the city of Los Angeles, and number one thing popped up in every single community. There was a need for creative activities, engagements for kids to do after school hours. The only, in those communities, you had active gang recruitment, you had sexual predators, and you had drug dealers, but you had a void of enough programming for kids to do to keep them safe, engaged, productively engaged, and learning. So this was, the needs assessments have long been done. And if you look at Harmony Project with hundreds and hundreds on waiting lists, I think that's pretty grassroots.
So we need more.
Do any of the participants on this at this event, do they have any questions for Mario? Do they have questions for me or for Amir?
I'm looking in the chat.
Use the raised hand function icon if you have a question for our panelists. So let me call on Paul Jenkins.
Fantastic. Hey,
Paul,
Paul.
you're muted.
Hi, these programs look fantastic. I'm the homeless liaison for Hollywood Hills West Neighborhood Council, and I was wondering if you thought some of these kind of programs could also help people going through that experience.
We have kids who have been experienced homelessness. In Harmony Project, we have kids who've been living in cars. All they need to do is sign up, and if they make it known that they are experiencing homelessness, they might be able to move up. They might be able to get a sooner opportunity to participate, because we do have wait lists based on the length of time kids have been waiting. But if you're if you work with unhoused populations, Paul, you might, and you have kids that you know that are looking to engage in Mario's program, I'm sure you can find a way to participate. And in Harmony Project, just please get in touch with the office and let them know. transportation to the program sites can also be a challenge. So those are some of the things. There's some of the ways the city could support kids. Dorsey, is it would be really awesome if, for instance, a child who is experiencing homelessness or lives some distance from the City of Angels Ballet or from a Harmony Project site, if they could get bus passes. That's not a huge expense, but it would be transformative.
Yes, and that's something that it might be something that if neighborhood council board wanted to take that on, they could supplement that. Wouldn't you say that's an idea, Thomas?
That is a great idea, to get I totally agree.
Okay, we can definitely look into that.
Thank you for joining us today, Paul, and for your engagement. Certainly, if kids are experiencing homelessness, so much is upended in their lives. It's completely transformative to find a creative home in City of Angels Ballet or in a Harmony Project program or in a program with someone like Amir with his project Knucklehead. If you could find a place where you can belong and you can continue to participate over time, or in the Get Lit program or the Girls Right program. There are phenomenal creative arts programming in LA. And Paul, as a facilitator, it would probably be really, really helpful if you could, make the connections and let people know the kinds of resources that are available in this amazing city of ours.
Thank you. I was also thinking about the homeless themselves, the adults, maybe at the bridge housing or transitional housing places. If a program for adults could be there that could also get some of these same benefits. I don't know what you think of that.
Well,
absolutely. I can share.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Amir.
Sorry, I'm back, y'all. But Project Knucklehead, our program, actually before the pandemic, we had a program in a shelter or in drop-in center that served unhoused people and people who had mental health needs. And it was a drop-in center called Daniel's Place in Santa Monica for people ages 16 up to 28. And I found that we were like a creative family, like Dr. Martin was talking about, like just finding that creative village where you can be embraced. There's so many different organizations in LA. And there we provided that with some youth. They said, I remember one young person was from Texas and found his way out here and didn't have anyone out here and felt like we were kind of like his family through music and the arts. So we definitely, especially in LA with the large number of unhoused people we have throughout LA, I mean, and you can go through Skid Row or any of these places with large concentrations of them and you see artists, you see them with their guitars, you see them with their art creating and stuff. So there's definitely that, and we can't forget about the adults.
No, and I wanted to add to that a few weeks ago, Make Music LA actually sponsored a guitarist to attend a shower for it's Showers of Hope or Shower of Hope in the West Adams area. So and they loved it, enjoyed having the music there. So I think music being a part of everyone's life, it absolutely is something that is beneficial to the unhoused and particularly for children as well.
We do need to, it's at the 5-minute mark, so we do need to wrap up. Any last comments, really?
Oh, okay. God, I'd certainly like to thank Amir, Margaret, Mario, Thomas for being a part of this today. And I think that whoever has been on this certainly has benefited from your knowledge and learning about the incredible growth and development that the art that you provide to your students, how it has impacted their lives. And it was wonderful seeing the kids Amir. It was just great having them as part of this. And
It
this
was
is
great.
is recorded, so we'll be able to see it at a later date.
That's beautiful. And one of our youth shared, she was like, "Oh, I'm a part of our neighborhood council." So
so thank you so much on that note. We talked about neighborhood councils today. We talked about youth, homeless, and even neighborhood councils has a space for everybody, the formerly incarcerated, undocumented. So there's a space. So we should talk offline on that. But then just for the attendees here, let's give a virtual round of applause to our presenters today. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing all your time to participate in this session.